They gave the ugliest woman to a human man, and he did hesitate, because he already knew her. The sun hung low over the city of Galathan, painting the towering crystal spires in shades of gold and violet. The air shimmered with the hum of advanced technology, and the faint scent of flowers genetically designed to bloom in the city's artificial climate. In the heart of the capital, a grand hall stood, gleaming with polished metal and crystal walls that reflected the light in dazzling patterns. It was the day of the council's annual celebration, an event where visitors from distant worlds came to witness the wealth, power, and culture of the alien civilization known for its strict standards of beauty and perfection. Lyra moved through the corridors with quiet grace. She was not like the others. Her skin was a soft mix of silvers and blues that shifted with her emotions. Her eyes were mismatched, one green, one amber, and her hair curled in unpredictable waves. The council's society considered her appearance unacceptable, and most of the citizens avoided her or whispered behind her back. She had learned long ago not to care what they thought. Her mind, her skills, and her heart mattered more to her than their judgments. Even so, Lyra felt the familiar pang of anxiety as she entered the hall. Today, she was not just attending a celebration, she was being given as a gift. The council had decided that she would be sent to a visiting human delegation. To them, it was an insult wrapped in a gesture of diplomacy, a way to show that humans had to accept what they were given, no matter how unworthy. Lyra had learned to expect cruelty from the council, but she had never expected how strange it would feel to be the center of their plan. Ethan waited near the center of the hall. He was tall, with dark hair and warm brown eyes, dressed in the uniform of a human diplomat. Unlike the aliens around him, he carried no airs of superiority. His smile was easy, calm, and somehow inviting. When Lyra first saw him, her chest tightened with a mix of apprehension and surprise. She had met humans before, but this one felt different. There was something familiar about him, something that tugged at a memory buried deep in her mind. The council members watched closely as Lyra approached. Their leader, a tall figure with translucent wings and a voice that resonated like music, announced her presence. "This is Lyra, the council's chosen gift for our human guests," they said, their tone dripping with expectation that she would embarrass the humans. "She is unique among our people." The words hung in the air, filled with disdain, but Ethan did not flinch. He stepped forward, his eyes meeting hers, and for a moment the entire hall seemed to fade around them. Lyra felt a strange warmth rise in her chest. She opened her mouth to speak, but he spoke first. "I've been waiting for you," he said simply, his voice steady and kind. The council gasped. Whispers rippled through the hall. How could a human, just seeing her for the first time, speak with such certainty? How could he not recoil at her appearance as every alien before him would? Lyra blinked. "Waiting for me?" she asked cautiously. He nodded. "Yes, I remember someone like you. Someone brave, clever, someone who helped me when I needed it most." Her mind spun. She had never shared her past with anyone, yet here was a human claiming to remember her. The memory he spoke of was from years ago at the edge of the galaxy, during a mission she had almost kept secret. She had helped a small human crew escape a collapsed starship, using her knowledge of engineering and navigation. She had thought no one would ever know. And yet here he was, remembering. The council's leader frowned. "Surely you do not mean to claim knowledge of our people human?" they asked, their voice sharp. "This one is given to you as a gift. She is not one of your kind." Ethan smiled gently. "I do not care about her kind," he replied. "I care about the person she is." Lyra felt a small spark of hope. No one had ever treated her like this. Not her peers, not the council, not even the humans who had come to observe their world. He treated her like a person, not an object, not a failure. The council murmured in disapproval, but Ethan ignored them. He turned to Lyra. "Will you come with me? There is much I wish to show you, and perhaps you will help me as you helped me before." She hesitated for only a moment before nodding. Something inside her had shifted. For the first time, she felt that she could be seen not for her appearance, but for her mind, her courage, and her skill. As they walked together through the hall, the other aliens could not understand what was happening. Lyra's usual nervousness was gone. She felt calm, even excited. The humans, unlike her people, did not judge her for how she looked. They valued her for what she could do and who she was. They moved to a private chamber where devices and holographic panels hovered in the air. Ethan gestured for her to look. "I need your expertise," he said. There is a system here that can be improved, but I cannot do it alone. You know, things I could never have learned from manuals." Lyra's eyes brightened. Here she could shine, not because she was forced to, but because she wanted to. She stepped forward and began examining the panels, her fingers dancing over the controls. As she worked, Ethan watched, clearly impressed but never intrusive. He offered suggestions, asked questions, and learned from her knowledge. Hours passed like minutes. Outside, the council continued their celebration, unaware of the small revolution happening in their own hall. Lyra and Ethan laughed softly at a clever trick she devised to reroute power through the system. It was a quiet victory, but a victory nonetheless. When they finally stepped away from the panels, Ethan looked at her with admiration. "You haven't changed at all," he said. "Still clever, still brave, still remarkable." Lyra felt heat rise to her cheeks, a mixture of pride and disbelief. No one had ever spoken to her like this. Even her own society, with all its rules and rigid expectations, could not ignore the bond forming between them. The council, meanwhile, was growing restless. Some of the younger aliens whispered to one another, curious about why a human would treat the ugliest woman with such respect. Some were skeptical, others intrigued. For the first time, Lyra sensed that perhaps she was beginning to change the perception of those around her, not with words, but with actions and the undeniable approval of someone from another world. As the evening drew on, Ethan escorted her to the balcony, where the twin moons of Galathan hung low in the sky, casting silver light across the city. "It is beautiful here," Lyra said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "It is," Ethan agreed. "But I think what matters most is not the beauty around us, but the beauty we choose to see in each other." Lyra smiled. She realized then that she had never felt truly free until now. Free from judgment, free from the council's cruel labels, free to be herself. She looked at Ethan and saw not just a human, but someone who understood her, who had recognized her worth long before anyone else had. They stood together in silence for a while, watching the moons rise. Lyra's heart felt light, as if years of doubt and fear had been lifted in a single evening. She thought of her past, the missions she had carried out in secret, the lives she had saved, and realized that those moments had not gone unnoticed. Somewhere out there, a human had remembered her courage, and that memory had brought him to this moment. The council continued their celebration inside, unaware of the small but significant revolution taking place on the balcony. Lyra knew that her life was about to change. She would no longer be defined by what others thought of her appearance. She would be recognized for her mind, her heart, and her actions. Ethan looked at her, his expression calm but filled with quiet excitement. "There is much ahead of us," he said. "Challenges, discoveries, and perhaps a chance to change minds, not just here but across worlds." Lyra nodded, feeling a spark of determination. She did not know exactly what the future held, but she knew she would face it with someone who believed in her. And for the first time in her life, that belief mattered more than anything else. As the twin moons rose higher, casting their light across the city of Galathan, Lyra felt a sense of hope she had never known. For the first time, she understood that her worth was not measured by society's narrow standards of beauty, but by the courage, skill, and kindness she carried within her. And with Ethan by her side, she was ready to show the universe just how remarkable she truly was. The evening ended not with a grand ceremony or public acknowledgement, but with a quiet understanding between two people who had found recognition where others had failed to see it. Lyra had been given away as a gift, but in truth, she had gained something far more valuable: respect, trust, and the first spark of a friendship that could change everything. And somewhere deep in the council chambers, whispers began to stir. Perhaps the human was not foolish. Perhaps the ugliest woman was not what they had always believed her to be. For Lyra, the night sky stretched endlessly above, full of possibilities. And for the first time, she felt ready to reach for them. The morning after the celebration, the city of Galathan gleamed under the twin suns. Streets buzzed with hovercrafts and citizens moving through the markets and plazas, their skin and hair shifting in colors as they expressed their moods. Lyra walked beside Ethan, her thoughts swirling with the events of the previous night. She could still feel the warmth of his gaze, the quiet confidence he had shown in her. It was something she had never experienced before, and it made her heart race in a way that was both thrilling and strange. Ethan moved with ease through the city, pointing out systems and structures the human mind could understand, blending logic with curiosity. These streets are designed not just for travel, he said. They carry energy, heat, and even sound in ways that make the city almost alive. It's brilliant, Lyra nodded, her eyes lighting up as she analyzed the patterns. Yes, the council spent decades optimizing the flow of everything. Most citizens don't notice it, but the system is incredibly efficient. I've studied it myself, trying to find improvements the council might have missed. He smiled. And you did. That's why I wanted to work with you. I remember someone with your skills, someone who could see the world differently and find solutions no one else could. Lyra felt a mix of pride and unease. She had always been careful to hide her abilities from most of society, knowing that her appearance would overshadow her accomplishments. And now, a human not only recognized her talent, but also remembered it from years ago. The memory was humbling and strange. As they walked through the busy streets, Lyra noticed the curious glances of aliens passing by. Some stared openly, while others whispered to one another. She had grown used to being noticed, usually in ways that made her uncomfortable. But today it felt different. Today the glances did not sting. They were questions, not judgments, and somehow that made her feel stronger. Ethan paused in front of a building that shimmered like liquid metal. "This is where I think we can start," he said. "There is a project here that combines human and alien technology. It's challenging, but I believe with your help, we can make it work better than anyone expects." Lyra followed him inside. The room was filled with devices she had never seen before, panels that floated in midair, tubes carrying glowing energy, and machines that hummed softly as if alive. She approached one of the panels and ran her fingers over its surface. Numbers and symbols flashed, responding to her touch. "Fascinating," she whispered. "This system is incredibly complex, but the principles are simple once you understand them. It's like a puzzle waiting to be solved." Ethan watched her, admiration clear in his eyes. "I knew I remembered you correctly," he said. "You approach problems differently. Most people see chaos, but you see patterns, you see solutions." For hours, they worked together. Lyra explained the nuances of the alien technology, showing Ethan the parts that could be improved. He listened carefully, asking questions and offering ideas from a human perspective. Together, they began adjusting the system, testing it, and observing the results. Slowly, the project started to function better than anyone had expected. Lyra felt a thrill she had never experienced in her work before. Here, she was not judged for her appearance, nor was she expected to perform in silence. She was recognized, appreciated, and trusted, and Ethan's presence made the experience even more meaningful. He never overshadowed her work, never dismissed her ideas. He treated her as an equal, someone capable of incredible things. As the afternoon light streamed through the windows, Lyra took a deep breath. "I didn't expect this," she admitted quietly. "I thought humans and everyone else would see me as less than, but you remember you see me." Ethan smiled. "I see you, Lyra, I always have. You were brave, clever, and determined. I never forgot that. And now I see that nothing has changed. You are still remarkable." The words made her chest swell with emotion. For years, she had carried the weight of others' judgments, believing that her value was tied to how she looked. And now, for the first time, she realized that her worth had always been in her mind, her heart, and her actions. A soft chime echoed through the room, signaling the arrival of a visitor. Lyra and Ethan turned to see a young alien woman standing at the entrance. She looked nervous, her wings trembling slightly. "Counselor Aris sent me," she said. "They wish to observe your work and perhaps to understand why you have chosen to work with her." Lyra stiffened slightly. The council had a long history of undervaluing her, and she did not trust their sudden interest. But Ethan placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "It's all right," he said. "Show them what you can do. Let them see your mind, not just your appearance." The alien observer stepped forward, her eyes scanning Lyra and the system with a mixture of skepticism and curiosity. Lyra explained each part carefully, demonstrating how the adjustments they had made improved efficiency. Ethan added context from the human perspective, showing how combining knowledge from different worlds could create solutions beyond what either species could achieve alone. By the time the demonstration ended, the observer's expression had softened. She looked at Lyra not with disdain, but with genuine interest. "I did not expect this," she admitted. "You are capable. Perhaps we have underestimated you." Lyra felt a small smile tug at her lips. Recognition was not just from Ethan now. Others were beginning to see her abilities, and it felt empowering. "Thank you," she said simply. I have always tried to do my best regardless of what others think. As the observer left, Lyra turned to Ethan. Do you think they will ever understand? She asked. That my value is not in how I look, but what I can do. Ethan considered her question carefully. Some will, he said finally. Some already do, others it will take time, but change starts with a few people. And we are proving that the rules they have lived by are not absolute. They can learn. The day continued with more adjustments to the system, more tests, and more small successes. Lyra found herself enjoying the work in a way she had never imagined. Every challenge became an opportunity, every solution a victory. And through it all, Ethan remained by her side, a steady presence that encouraged her and believed in her abilities. When evening came, the city lights glimmered like stars brought to earth. Lyra and Ethan walked along the river that cut through the capital, its waters reflecting the colors of the city. The air was cool, carrying the faint hum of energy from the buildings around them. You've changed the way I see things, Lyra said softly. I always thought my life would be small, limited by what others thought of me, but now I see possibilities I never imagined. Ethan nodded. You always had that potential, he said. I only reminded you that it exists. The world, your world, and even mine is bigger than the limits others try to place on you. They walked in silence for a while, each lost in thought. Lyra reflected on her past missions, the times she had worked in secret, saving lives and solving problems without recognition. She realized that her actions had always mattered, even if no one had noticed. And now, finally, someone had noticed, remembered, and believed in her. As the twin moons rose again, painting the city in silver light, Lyra felt a sense of hope she had never known. She was no longer just the council's ugliest woman. She was a skilled engineer, a courageous problem solver, and someone who could make a difference in both alien and human worlds. Ethan looked at her, his eyes reflecting the soft light of the moons. Tomorrow we will take on a bigger challenge, he said. But tonight, just enjoy this moment. You've earned it. Lyra smiled, feeling a quiet warmth spread through her. For the first time, she allowed herself to believe that her life could be more than what the council had dictated. She could be seen for who she was, respected for her mind, and valued for her courage. And with Ethan's support, she knew that the possibilities were endless. As they stood by the river, Lyra realized something important. The world could try to define her by appearances, by labels, or by fear of difference. But true value, real worth, was measured by what one did, how one thought, and the courage one carried inside. And in that moment, Lyra felt a deep sense of freedom, the kind that comes only when someone finally sees you as you are. The night carried on, full of soft sounds, quiet reflections, and the promise of new beginnings. Lyra knew that challenges awaited, both from the council and the wider world. But for now, she allowed herself to simply be seen, respected, and remembered. And that knowledge, more than anything, gave her strength. The following morning, the city of Galathan buzzed with life. Citizens moved through the streets, their colors shifting with the moods and thoughts of their minds. Lyra walked alongside Ethan, her steps more confident than they had ever been. The events of the previous day still lingered in her mind. The respect he had shown, the acknowledgement of her skill, and the strange but comforting bond that seemed to grow between them. For the first time, she felt truly capable, not just tolerated. Yet the council's influence was never far away. News of her work with Ethan had spread quickly. Whispers and cautious glances followed her as she walked through the hallways of the administrative building where she had been allowed to continue her work. Many citizens were curious, some envious, and a few openly skeptical. The council, watching from their chambers, had mixed feelings. Some were intrigued by the success of Lyra and Ethan, while others saw it as a challenge to their rigid ideas of beauty, status, and value. Lyra paused by a window, looking down at the flowing energy lines that ran through the city streets. She had always admired the precision of her world's design, yet she had never felt comfortable participating in it, until now. Ethan's presence had changed something inside her. She realized that what the council had labeled as her flaws were never limits, they were simply differences, and differences had value. Ethan joined her quietly, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You've done well," he said softly. "Your work yesterday, it was impressive. And not just the results, the way you handled yourself, your patience, your focus, it's inspiring." Lyra felt a warmth rise in her chest. "Thank you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I never thought anyone would notice, not really." Ethan smiled. "I notice." And that's what matters, not the council, not the others. You need to see your own worth, too. Before she could respond, a sharp voice interrupted them. Counselor Aris stepped forward, his wings fluttering in slight agitation. "Lyra," he said, "we must speak." Lyra turned to face him, her posture straight but her mind cautious. "Yes, Counselor." Aris's gaze was cold, but his voice carried a hint of curiosity. "Your actions with this human, it is unusual. We did not expect this. Many believe that humans would reject someone of your appearance, yet you have been given trust and respect. Explain this." Lyra took a deep breath, steadying herself. She had rehearsed these moments in her mind, wondering how she would respond if the council challenged her. "I do not act for appearances," she said firmly. "I act because I can help, because I understand systems and can solve problems. My value is in what I do, not how I look." A murmur ran through the council chamber. Some were shocked at her confidence, others seemed to consider her words. Aris's eyes narrowed. "And this human, why does he trust you? Why does he not see what others see?" "He sees what I can do," Lyra replied. "He recognizes skill and courage. He sees that I am capable. That is why he trusts me." Aris's expression softened slightly, though his tone remained measured. "This is a new perspective, but not all will agree. Some will continue to question your worth. Are you prepared for that?" Lyra's heart pounded, but she held his gaze steadily. I have done so for years. The opinions of others will not stop me from doing what I can." Ethan watched silently, proud of her composure. "And I will continue to support you," he said. "We work as a team. Your abilities and my perspective together, we can accomplish more than either of us could alone." The council chamber remained quiet for a long moment, the weight of Lyra's words hanging in the air. Then Aris finally nodded. "Very well, you may continue your work. But know this, there are many who will test your resolve. Be prepared." Lyra met his gaze with calm determination. "I am prepared," she said. Later that day, as Lyra and Ethan returned to the lab, they were met by a small group of young aliens who had been observing their progress. Their expressions were a mixture of curiosity, admiration, and hesitation. We saw what you did yesterday," one of them said, her voice trembling slightly. "The system, it works better than anyone expected. How did you do it?" Lyra smiled softly. "We looked at the problem from different perspectives. We combined knowledge, that is all." Ethan added, "Sometimes, solutions come from unexpected places, from those who are willing to see beyond appearances, beyond labels, beyond limits." The young aliens exchanged glances. For the first time, they seemed to reconsider what they had believed about Lyra. She was not just the ugliest woman in their society. She was a thinker, a problem solver, someone who could make a real difference. As they worked through another series of adjustments to the system, a small challenge arose. A component was not responding correctly, and the system began to falter. Lyra's mind raced as she considered the options. "We need to reroute the energy flow," she said, pointing to a specific set of controls. "It's the only way to stabilize it." Ethan nodded. "I trust you. Let's do it together." They worked in tandem, their movements synchronized, their minds focused. Slowly, the system responded, stabilizing and functioning better than before. Lyra exhaled, relief and satisfaction mingling in her chest. One of the young observers gasped softly. I didn't think it could be done. You saved it." Lyra turned to them, her expression calm but confident. "It was not about saving it. It was about understanding it. Once you understand, you can fix almost anything." The young aliens nodded, absorbing her words. Lyra felt a sense of accomplishment, not just in the success of the system, but in the subtle shift she could sense in those around her. Some were beginning to see her as more than her appearance, more than the council's label. As evening approached, Ethan suggested a walk along the observation deck, which overlooked the glowing heart of the city. The lights reflected in the flowing water and the polished metal spires, creating a scene that seemed almost magical. Lyra walked beside him, feeling the weight of the day lift from her shoulders. "You've done well today," Ethan said softly. "Not just with the system, but with them. They are beginning to see what I have always known." Lyra shook her head, a small smile on her lips. "I don't know if they will ever truly understand. Some may never change." Ethan placed a hand gently on hers. "Some may not, but the ones who do, that is enough, and you have already changed many minds today." Lyra looked at him, feeling a warmth she could not fully describe. It was more than pride. It was connection, trust, and the quiet understanding that she was not alone. She had spent so long believing that the world would never see her worth, and now, finally, someone had. As the night deepened, the twin moons rose once again, casting silver light over the city. Lyra and Ethan sat quietly, watching the reflections on the river. The day's challenges, the council's scrutiny, and the whispers of the citizens all seemed distant here in this calm space. "You know," Lyra said softly, "I never thought I would find someone who sees me for who I really am, not my appearance, not my flaws, just me." Ethan smiled, his eyes gentle. "I have always seen you, Lyra, and now others are beginning to see as well. It is only the beginning." She leaned back slightly, letting the cool breeze wash over her. For the first time in her life, she felt a sense of peace. She was no longer defined by the narrow standards of beauty imposed by her society. She was valued for her intelligence, her courage, and her heart. And with Ethan by her side, she felt a strength she had never known. The council would continue to watch, question, and test her. The society would still have those who doubted and those who whispered. But Lyra knew she could face them all. She had proven her abilities, earned respect, and gained the trust of someone who truly mattered. As the twin moons reflected on the city, Lyra realized that her journey was far from over. Challenges awaited, both in her work and in changing the minds of those around her. But she no longer feared them. She had discovered something far more powerful than judgment or fear, the recognition of her true self and the knowledge that she was capable of achieving great things. Ethan stood beside her, his presence steady and reassuring. "Tomorrow," he said, "we will face new challenges. But tonight, we simply enjoy the moment. You deserve it." Lyra smiled, the first genuine smile she had felt in years. She had been labeled the ugliest woman, underestimated and dismissed. But now she understood that labels were meaningless. Her value lay in her courage, her intelligence, and her willingness to rise above expectation. And as she sat there, under the twin moons of Galathan, she felt a quiet certainty that the universe had more in store for her. With trust, respect, and the courage to be herself, she could face anything. And perhaps, in doing so, she could help others see beyond appearances, just as Ethan had seen beyond hers. The night carried on, peaceful and filled with possibilities. Lyra knew that tomorrow would bring new trials and new opportunities. But for now, she allowed herself to simply be, seen, respected, and valued for who she truly was. And that knowledge, more than anything, gave her the strength to continue forward. The next day, the city of Galathan sparkled under the first rays of the twin suns. Lyra felt a sense of purpose as she walked alongside Ethan toward the central research hub. Today was not just another day of adjustments and experiments. Today, they would demonstrate their work to a wider audience, including council members, engineers, and visiting delegates from other planets. It was a moment that could change how many saw her, and she felt both excitement and nervous anticipation. Ethan noticed her subtle tension. "You're ready," he said, his voice calm and reassuring. "Whatever happens, you know your skills, trust yourself, and the rest will follow." Lyra nodded, feeling a mixture of courage and determination. She had faced skepticism before, but today was different. Today, she had the chance to show her abilities not only to the council but to the world, and she was determined to do it with confidence. As they entered the research hub, the room buzzed with quiet chatter. Alien engineers and human delegates moved between workstations, checking devices and reviewing data. At the center stood the system Lyra and Ethan had been refining, a complex network of energy conduits, data streams, and adaptive control panels. Its potential was immense, capable of optimizing resources and improving efficiency across entire cities. Lyra approached the system with careful precision, her fingers gliding over the controls. She adjusted settings, fine-tuned connections, and ran diagnostic tests. Ethan stood beside her, providing input where necessary, but always allowing her to lead. Some of the council members entered the room, their expressions a mixture of curiosity and doubt. Aris was among them, watching closely. He had followed Lyra's progress for days, uncertain whether her abilities could truly surpass expectations. "Begin," Aris said, his tone formal. Lyra nodded and activated the system. Lights flickered across the panels, energy flowed through conduits, and data streams shifted in complex patterns. The system responded quickly, adapting to changes and stabilizing itself as she had anticipated. A soft hum filled the room, signaling that the adjustments were successful. A delegate from a distant planet leaned toward another and whispered, "I did not expect this." The human and this woman have exceeded the council's projections. Lyra noticed the murmurs and focused on the system. We are not done yet, she said. Now we will test its capacity under stress. It must handle sudden changes without failure. Ethan nodded. I'll monitor external inputs while you manage the internal flow. Ready? She glanced at him, feeling a wave of confidence. Ready. They began the test. Lyra guided the system through sudden surges of energy and unexpected shifts in data patterns. The panels responded instantly to her commands, rerouting power and stabilizing output. She anticipated every fluctuation, adjusting the controls in real time. Ethan monitored the system's overall performance, providing feedback and ensuring external variables were accounted for. Minutes passed, each one stretching longer than the last. The room was silent except for the soft hum of the system. Council members and delegates watched in tense fascination. Then, as the final adjustment was made, the system stabilized perfectly, exceeding even their expectations. A ripple of astonishment spread through the room. One of the younger council members whispered, She did it. She made it work flawlessly. Eris, who had maintained a reserved expression, finally nodded, his wings fluttering slightly. Impressive, he said. This demonstrates skill beyond what we anticipated. Well done. Lyra allowed herself a small, controlled smile. She had faced skepticism, doubt, and judgment, and yet she had proven her abilities. The recognition was not just for her work, but for her determination and intelligence. Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. You did it, he said quietly. They see what I have known all along. She looked at him, her eyes shining with gratitude and relief. Thank you for believing in me, she said. I could not have done this alone. The demonstration continued with questions and discussions. Delegates asked about the system's design, its applications, and its potential for integration into other cities. Lyra answered each question with clarity, her explanations confident and precise. Ethan provided context from a human perspective, showing how collaboration between different species could achieve remarkable results. As the session ended, Eris stepped forward once more. Lyra, he said, his tone measured but sincere, you have shown abilities that challenge our assumptions. You have demonstrated not only intelligence but courage and perseverance. Your work is commendable. Lyra felt a deep sense of pride. For years, she had been labeled the ugliest woman, dismissed and underestimated. Now she was being recognized for her skills, her mind, and her character. The council's acknowledgement was not just validation. It was a shift in perception, a small but significant change in how her society viewed her. Later, as the hub emptied and delegates returned to their own worlds, Ethan and Lyra remained behind to review the system's performance. They worked together, fine-tuning adjustments and discussing improvements. You've changed the way I see possibilities, Ethan said. Your approach, it's remarkable. Humans can learn a lot from you, Lyra laughed softly. And humans can teach me things too. That's the beauty of collaboration. Different perspectives create better solutions. Their conversation was interrupted by a soft chime. A message from the council appeared on a panel. It read, Council recognizes Lyra's contributions and requests continued collaboration for future projects. Your success is noted and appreciated. Lyra read the message aloud, her voice steady but filled with quiet emotion. They really mean it. They see my work, not my appearance. Ethan smiled warmly. And they will continue to see it. You've opened a door that others may have ignored before. You've set an example. As they prepared to leave the hub, a group of young aliens approached. Their expressions were bright with curiosity and admiration. We saw your demonstration, one said. You are incredible. How did you learn so much? Lyra knelt slightly to meet their eyes. I learned by observing, by practicing, and by never giving up, she explained. Most importantly, I learned to trust myself, even when others doubted me. Ethan added, and remember, skill and courage are more important than appearances. Anyone can achieve greatness if they believe in themselves and work together. The young aliens nodded, absorbing the lesson. Lyra felt a sense of fulfillment. Not only had she proven herself, but she was inspiring others to think differently, to look beyond appearances, and to value intelligence and courage above all else. As the twin moons rose once more, casting silver light across the city, Lyra and Ethan walked through quiet streets. The air was cool, carrying the faint hum of energy from the buildings around them. Lyra reflected on the day's events. She had faced scrutiny, doubts, and expectations, yet she had emerged stronger, respected, and more confident than ever before. "You've done more than I could have imagined," Ethan said softly. "Not just with the system, but with how you've influenced them. You've shown them that labels mean nothing compared to skill and character." Lyra smiled, feeling a deep sense of purpose. "I never thought I would be able to change minds. I thought my life would always be limited by what others thought of me." "Not anymore," Ethan said, his voice calm and steady. "You've proven yourself and you've inspired others. That is more than enough." They walked in silence for a while, enjoying the calm and the soft glow of the moons. Lyra felt a quiet strength settle in her chest. She knew challenges still awaited. The council and society would continue to test her, and there would be obstacles in the projects ahead. But she also knew that she was capable, resilient, and supported by someone who believed in her. As they reached the edge of the city, Lyra looked out over the flowing energy streams and gleaming spires. The world stretched before her, full of possibilities she had never imagined. And for the first time, she felt that she could truly shape her own path, define her own worth, and inspire others to do the same. Ethan placed a hand gently on hers. "Tomorrow, we will continue our work and there will be new challenges, but tonight, just enjoy this moment." "You've earned it," Lyra nodded, letting the calm wash over her. She had been underestimated, labeled, and judged, but she had risen above it all. She had proven her skills, earned respect, and shown courage. And now she was ready to face whatever came next, confident in herself and in the bond she shared with Ethan. The twin moons reflected off the city's metallic surfaces, casting silver light across the streets and waterways. Lyra felt a sense of hope and purpose she had never known before. She was no longer defined by labels or appearances. She was a thinker, a doer, and someone capable of changing minds and inspiring others. And with Ethan by her side, she knew the future was full of endless possibilities. As they walked toward their quarters, the city quieted beneath the twin moons. Lyra felt a quiet determination settle in her heart. The world had judged her, but she had shown her worth. And now she would continue to do so, not just for herself, but for anyone who had ever been overlooked or underestimated. And for the first time, Lyra realized that being seen for who she truly was, respected for her abilities and valued for her courage, was far more important than anything else. She smiled softly, feeling the weight of expectation lift from her shoulders. The journey was not over, but she was ready. The morning light fell softly over Galathan, casting the city in gentle shades of gold and violet. Lyra stood at the edge of the observation terrace, her eyes scanning the city below. The system she and Ethan had improved was already being tested in parts of the city, and reports showed that it was performing beyond expectations. Citizens moved through the streets with more ease, energy flowed efficiently, and the subtle hum of the city seemed smoother, almost alive. Ethan appeared beside her, carrying a cup of warm tea from one of the nearby vendors. "You look thoughtful," he said. "I am," Lyra replied. "Everything is changing. The city, the council, even the way people look at me. I never imagined it could be like this." He smiled, handing her the cup. "You've changed it, and they've seen it. You've proven that ability and courage matter more than appearances. That is something this society needed to understand." Lyra took a sip of the tea, feeling its warmth settle in her chest. "It still feels strange. For so long I was invisible, judged only for how I looked, and now," she paused, glancing at Ethan, "now I feel seen." He nodded, his expression calm but full of pride. "You always were. I only reminded others, and now more people are beginning to see it too." Their quiet moment was interrupted by a soft chime. The council had requested her presence in the main chamber. Lyra straightened, feeling a mixture of excitement and nervous anticipation. This could be the moment where she was fully recognized, not just for her skill, but for the courage and determination that had carried her this far. When she entered the council chamber, she saw that it was unusually full. Members from every corner of the city had gathered, as well as visiting delegates from several nearby planets. The chamber hummed with quiet conversation, all eyes turning to her as she stepped forward. Aris, who had observed her progress from the beginning, stood at the center. His expression was unreadable, but there was a flicker of respect in his eyes. "Lyra," he began, "we have watched your work, your courage, and your dedication. Today, we are here not only to review your contributions, but to acknowledge the impact you have had on our society." A murmur of interest spread through the room. Lyra felt her heart beat faster, but she held her posture straight and calm. She had worked for this moment, not for recognition, but to make a difference. Now, the difference she had made was being seen. Aris continued. You have demonstrated that the measure of a being is not in appearance, status, or labels. It is in skill, courage, and the willingness to act for the benefit of others. Your work with the human, Ethan, has proven this in every way. The system improvements you have achieved have benefited our city and set an example for future collaboration between species. Lyra's chest swelled with pride. She had always known her abilities mattered, but hearing it confirmed by the council and the other members of society was overwhelming. Yet she remained composed, allowing the words to settle in. Ethan stepped forward, his presence calm and reassuring. Lyra has not only contributed to this system, he said, but she has also shown that when we look beyond appearances and labels, we can achieve extraordinary results. Collaboration, trust, and respect are what allow us to grow together. Her courage and intelligence are an example for all of us. The room erupted in quiet applause. It was not loud or theatrical, but it was sincere. Many had doubted her, but now they were acknowledging her worth. Lyra felt a warmth spread through her. She had been underestimated, dismissed, and labeled for years. Now her actions, her mind, and her heart were being recognized. A young delegate from another planet stepped forward, her eyes wide with admiration. I have never seen anything like this, she said. Your skill, your focus, and the way you work with Ethan, it is inspiring. You have shown us a new way to see value. Lyra smiled gently. Thank you. I have always believed that everyone has the potential to do great things. Sometimes it takes someone noticing it for them to believe it themselves. Aris nodded, clearly moved. We must reconsider our traditions and judgments. Lyra, your example will change how our society evaluates its citizens. No longer will appearance dictate value. We will strive to see skill, courage, and heart above all else. The chamber was quiet for a moment, the weight of his words sinking in. Lyra felt a profound sense of fulfillment. She had started as the council's ugliest woman, dismissed and overlooked. Now she was recognized not only for her abilities, but for the courage to rise above judgment and show her true self. After the council session, Lyra and Ethan walked through the city, enjoying the peaceful afternoon. Citizens who had once ignored her now smiled, some even bowing slightly in respect. Children watched her with curiosity and admiration. She realized that she had become a symbol, not of beauty, but of perseverance, intelligence, and courage. You've changed more than just a system, Ethan said softly. You've changed minds, hearts, and perspectives. You've given people a chance to see differently. Lyra looked at him, her eyes reflecting a mixture of gratitude and joy. I never expected this. I thought my life would always be limited by what others thought of me, but now I feel like I can do anything. Ethan smiled. And you can. Together, we've shown that collaboration and understanding can overcome assumptions and prejudice. And this is only the beginning. They continued their walk, arriving at a quiet park where the city's energy lines flowed like rivers of light beneath glass pathways. Lyra sat on a bench looking at the glow. Do you think I really made a difference? She asked. Ethan sat beside her, placing a gentle hand on hers. I know you did. Every action, every choice, every moment you trusted yourself, it mattered. You have inspired more than you realize. Lyra felt a sense of peace she had never known. She had spent so long hiding her abilities, believing that society's judgment defined her. Now she understood that her worth had always been in her mind, her heart, and her actions. She had only needed someone to see it, and once they did, others began to see it as well. As the twin moons rose over Galathan, their silver light reflecting off the city's spires, Lyra felt a quiet sense of hope. The journey had been long, filled with doubt and challenge, but she had emerged stronger, respected, and confident. And she had discovered something even more valuable: trust, companionship, and understanding in Ethan, someone who had believed in her from the start. Ethan leaned back, watching the moons with her. The world may still have challenges, he said, but you have proven that courage and skill can change perspectives. You've shown them all that true value is not about appearances, but about what one does. Lyra nodded. And I will continue to show them, not for recognition, but because it matters, because it can inspire others to rise above judgment and see what truly counts. A soft breeze flowed through the park, carrying the hum of the city and the scent of flowers designed to bloom under Galathan's twin suns. Lyra felt it all, the quiet energy of the city, the acknowledgement of her work, and the warmth of companionship beside her. "Tomorrow," Ethan said, "we continue our work, but tonight, let's just enjoy this moment. You've earned it." Lyra smiled, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. She had been given away as a gift, underestimated and judged harshly. Yet she had found respect, trust, and recognition. She had proven her worth to herself, to her society, and to the universe. As the moons reflected over the flowing energy lines, Lyra realized that her life had changed completely. She was no longer the council's ugliest woman. She was a thinker, a doer, and an inspiration. Her courage, intelligence, and determination had shown that labels mean nothing in the face of skill and heart. Ethan squeezed her hand gently. "You've done more than you know, and I'll be here as long as you need me." Lyra felt a warmth spread through her chest. For the first time, she understood what it meant to be truly seen, valued, and respected. She had faced prejudice, skepticism, and doubt, but she had risen above it all. And now she was ready for whatever the future held. The city of Galathan glimmered beneath the twin moons, alive with energy, light, and possibilities. Lyra stood, feeling the weight of the past lift from her shoulders. She had been underestimated, dismissed, and judged, but she had proven herself. And she had discovered something far more valuable than recognition: confidence, purpose, and the ability to inspire change. She looked at Ethan, her companion and friend, and knew that together they could face anything. The world was vast, full of challenges and opportunities, but she had the courage, skill, and heart to meet them. And that knowledge, more than anything, gave her strength. Lyra took a deep breath, feeling the cool night air fill her lungs. She had been labeled, misunderstood, and overlooked. Now she was recognized, respected, and valued. And as she stood beneath the twin moons, she knew that her journey was only beginning. With Ethan by her side and her own confidence guiding her, Lyra was ready to embrace the future. She had proven that appearances do not define worth, that courage and intelligence can overcome judgment, and that even the smallest actions can inspire change. And in that moment, as the city of Galathan glowed around her and the moons reflected their silver light, Lyra felt a deep sense of peace. She had been given away as a gift, but she had gained something far greater: respect, recognition, and the freedom to be herself. The night stretched endlessly above, full of promise, possibilities, and hope. Lyra knew that challenges would continue, that the council and society would still test her in new ways. But she also knew that she was ready, strong, and capable. And for the first time in her life, she felt truly free.